Imagine waking up in the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Towering temples scraped the sky. Massive stone roads stretched for thousands of kilometers. Crowds packed enormous marketplaces, and the mighty Colosseum stood as a symbol of Rome's unmatched power. From the outside, the Roman Empire looked like the birthplace of civilization itself. Millions of people dream about living in ancient Rome. Movies portray fearless gladiators, powerful emperors, magnificent architecture, and endless victories. It seems like a world filled with adventure, honor, and glory. But here's the truth. If you were suddenly transported back to ancient Rome today, you probably wouldn't survive your first year. And in many cases, you might not even survive your first month. The Roman Empire wasn't built for comfort. It wasn't built for equality. It certainly wasn't built for mercy. It was built on war. On disease. On slavery. And on fear. For every wealthy senator enjoying extravagant feasts inside a luxurious villa, there were thousands of ordinary people struggling every single day just to stay alive. Most Romans didn't live in beautiful marble palaces. They were crammed into overcrowded apartment buildings called insulae. These wooden structures were poorly built, dangerously unstable, and famous for collapsing or catching fire without warning. If you were poor, which statistically, you almost certainly would have been, your home might have no running water, no proper toilet, and barely enough space for your entire family. Even something as simple as getting clean drinking water wasn't guaranteed. Modern medicine didn't exist. Germ theory was still nearly 2,000 years away. A tiny cut, an infected tooth, or contaminated food could become a death sentence. And life expectancy? Many people never even reached adulthood. Children died at heartbreaking rates. Disease spread rapidly through crowded streets. Famines, wars, and epidemics regularly wiped out entire communities. The Rome you see in movies focuses on emperors and generals. But history wasn't lived by emperors. It was lived by ordinary people. And for them, Rome was one of the harshest places imaginable. So before you wish you could travel back to the Roman Empire, ask yourself one question. Would you really survive a world where there were no hospitals, no human rights, and no second chances? Because as this journey unfolds, you'll discover that almost every part of everyday Roman life was designed to test one thing: your ability to stay alive. Imagine stepping outside your home on a normal morning in ancient Rome. Within seconds, you'd be surrounded by thousands of people squeezing through narrow streets packed with merchants, animals, beggars, soldiers, and carts. The city was loud, chaotic, and incredibly dirty. Now imagine taking your first deep breath. You wouldn't smell fresh air. You'd smell animal waste, human sewage, rotting food, smoke from cooking fires, and rubbish that had been left to decay in the streets. This wasn't unusual. It was everyday life. Although Rome had an impressive system of aqueducts that brought fresh water into the city, clean water wasn't equally available to everyone. Wealthy citizens often had access to private supplies, while poorer neighborhoods depended on crowded public fountains. Water could also become contaminated during storage or transport, making illness a constant threat. And then there were the toilets. Public latrines were common across the empire. Dozens of people would sit side by side on stone seats with no privacy whatsoever. There was no toilet paper. Instead, people often used a sea sponge attached to a stick, rinsed in shared water and reused by multiple people. By modern standards, it was a perfect environment for parasites and infectious diseases to spread. Food wasn't much safer. Without refrigerators, meat spoiled quickly, especially during the hot summer months. Bread could be contaminated with mold, milk turned sour within hours, and food poisoning was a regular part of life. Even worse, many Romans unknowingly poisoned themselves. The wealthy loved using lead pipes and lead cooking utensils. They even sweetened food and wine with substances that contained lead. Today, scientists believe long-term exposure may have caused serious health problems for many Romans. If you became sick, your chances of recovery depended more on luck than medicine. Doctors had no understanding of bacteria or viruses. They couldn't prescribe antibiotics because they didn't exist. Treatments often involved herbal mixtures, bloodletting, strange animal remedies, or prayers to the gods. A simple infection from a small cut could spread through your body in days. A broken bone could leave you permanently disabled. And something as common today as appendicitis would almost certainly be fatal. Meanwhile, danger wasn't limited to disease. Rome's overcrowded apartment buildings were ticking time bombs. Most insulae were built quickly using cheap materials. Fires spread from one building to another in minutes, and entire neighborhoods could disappear overnight. For ordinary Romans, survival wasn't about avoiding dramatic battles or gladiator arenas. It was about making it through another ordinary day. Because in ancient Rome, even everyday life could kill you. If disease didn't kill you, Rome's laws just might. The Roman Empire is often praised for creating one of history's greatest legal systems. Many modern legal ideas can trace their roots back to ancient Rome. But if you were an ordinary person living there, the law wasn't designed to protect everyone equally. It was designed to protect the empire. And the empire ruled through fear. Your social status determined almost everything. A wealthy senator, a Roman citizen, a freedman, a foreigner, and a slave could all commit the exact same crime, yet receive completely different punishments. Justice wasn't blind. It was deeply unequal. And if you were born into slavery, your life wasn't considered your own. At its height, historians estimate that millions of people across the Roman Empire were enslaved. Some worked in wealthy households, but many others faced far harsher lives in mines, farms, construction sites, or aboard ships. Slaves could be bought, sold, separated from their families, or punished at the owner's command. While some owners treated slaves better than others, the law largely viewed them as property rather than individuals with rights. Escape was almost impossible. Captured runaways could be brutally punished, and in some cases, branded or forced to wear iron collars identifying them as escaped slaves. Even free citizens had reason to fear. Public punishments were meant to send a message. Executions often took place in front of large crowds. Criminals might be beheaded, thrown to wild animals in the arena, or crucified, a punishment so slow and painful that it could last for days. The goal wasn't just to punish one person. It was to terrify everyone watching. Then there were the gladiator games. Hollywood often portrays them as heroic athletes chasing fame. The reality was far darker. Many gladiators were enslaved people, prisoners of war, or convicted criminals forced into violent combat. Although skilled gladiators were valuable and not every fight ended in death, entering the arena meant risking horrific injuries for the entertainment of thousands. And even outside the arena, violence was never far away. Street crime, political unrest, and riots could erupt without warning. There was no emergency phone number to call, no modern police force to arrive within minutes, and no guarantee that anyone would come to help. In ancient Rome, survival wasn't just about staying healthy. It was about avoiding the attention of powerful people. One wrong accusation. One angry official. One unlucky day. And your life could change forever. Because in the Roman Empire, mercy was never guaranteed. By this point, you might be thinking, maybe I'd be careful. I'd avoid trouble, stay healthy, and keep a low profile. Unfortunately, that still might not save you. Because the greatest threat in ancient Rome wasn't war or criminals. It was simply being alive. Life expectancy in the Roman Empire was dramatically lower than it is today. While those who survived childhood could sometimes live into their 50s or even beyond, infant and child mortality was devastatingly high. Many families lost children before they ever reached adulthood. For parents, heartbreak wasn't an exception. It was a common part of life. Then came disease. Without vaccines, antibiotics, or a real understanding of how illnesses spread, epidemics could tear through cities with terrifying speed. Crowded streets, poor sanitation, and close living conditions created the perfect environment for deadly outbreaks. One of the worst was the Antonine Plague, which struck the empire in the 2nd century AD. Believed by many historians to have been either smallpox or measles, it killed millions of people and weakened the Roman Empire for years. And disease wasn't the only danger. Food shortages could arrive without warning. If crops failed because of drought, floods, pests, or war, entire regions faced famine. Bread prices soared, people went hungry, and the poorest citizens suffered first. Then there were the wars. Rome expanded through nearly constant military campaigns. Young men were often recruited into the army, where they faced brutal training, long marches, harsh weather, disease, and deadly battles far from home. Even if you never became a soldier, you weren't safe. Barbarian invasions, pirate raids, local rebellions, and political chaos could suddenly turn peaceful towns into battlefields. And remember, there were no ambulances, no emergency surgery, no intensive care units. A broken leg from a simple fall could become infected. A fever could end your life in days. A difficult childbirth could kill both mother and baby. Problems that modern hospitals solve every single day were often fatal in ancient Rome. So, would you really survive the Roman Empire? The answer is probably no. Not because you aren't strong, but because modern humans are protected by things we rarely think about: clean drinking water, sanitation, vaccines, hospitals, food safety, human rights, and modern law. These everyday comforts didn't exist for most Romans. The Roman Empire achieved extraordinary feats. It built roads that still exist today, engineered massive aqueducts, created lasting legal traditions, and shaped the course of Western civilization. But behind every magnificent temple, behind every victorious army, and behind every emperor's triumph, were millions of ordinary people fighting a battle far more difficult than conquering the world. The battle to survive another day. So the next time someone says they wish they could live in ancient Rome, you'll know the truth. History often looks glorious from a distance, but living through it was a completely different story. If you enjoyed this journey into history, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to ToonTheory for more documentaries that reveal the shocking realities behind history's greatest civilizations. And here's a question for you. If you could live in any ancient civilization for 1 week, which one would you choose, and why? Let us know in the comments.